Matrix chat server, which you can access through chat.lrn.fm. That's where you'll get full step-by-step instructions on how to do that. So please do, when you get a chance, go there and join us. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
And nobody.
And Chris.
All right, so presidential candidate came through Keene today. Jo Jorgensen was here earlier today doing a campaign stop at Keene's Central Square. For those that don't know, we are doing the show from New Hampshire. Keene is the little city, if you even want to call it a city. It's technically called a city.
Do we have any cities in New Hampshire?
Well, define city, because
a million people.
10 of them.
Yeah, in a million people, no. You're talking about a metropolis or whatever, right? Like a million people is bigger than a city, right?
Yeah, I think a small city constitutes like 100,000 people.
That would be Manchester.
Sometimes, yeah.
So that would
I think Manchester might be a small city at most.
Yeah, Nashua's got about 75,000. I would say Nashua's a city.
I think that's smaller than what
Keene
most people would consider
Keene
a city.
Is 20,000, 23,000.
That's not even. That's like barely a town.
The funny thing is, in New Hampshire,
legally it's a city.
That's the thing, though, right?
Well,
so
that's definitions.
There's the idea of what a person thinks of when they hear city, and then there's the legal definition of city. They're two different ideas.
Well, and the legal definition in New Hampshire is arbitrary. It's just whatever they decide. It's not like a number of people or anything of that nature.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with numbers. It has to do with the political structure. That's all it means, really. And so there's actually a couple of towns in New Hampshire that have populations greater than Keene, which is a city. So there's a town that's got 30,000 people.
Yeah.
It's a town.
Yeah.
Keene's got 23,000. It's a city. So it doesn't have anything to do with...
And, of course, these things were designated also, hundreds of years ago when the populations were somewhat different.
This is true.
I don't know that... I don't know that Keene
hundreds.
ever had... Keene's always been like, I think, a larger town or... I don't know if a larger town's the best way, but it's not been a village is what I'm trying to say, and New Hampshire has had basically towns.
It's the biggest populated area in southwest New Hampshire.
I mean,
and Jo Jorgensen
Jorgensen
came through here today. She's the presidential candidate for the Libertarian Party. We thought she was going to come in and do the show with us last night, but I guess that wasn't what was planned. Things get changed around, schedules get changed. There's always a lot of places vying. Huh? Sorry?
I said phone calls don't get made.
No, there was this was an email thing that got set up, and there was definitely some emails that went back and forth, and they didn't tell me they weren't coming, but it wasn't, I guess, a 100% thing. So I didn't announce it, right? Like I didn't promote that she was going to be here, and turns out she didn't. But she certainly got an open invitation to come back on Free Talk Live. She showed up at Keene Central Square today. Daryl W. Perry, former co-host here on Free Talk Live, was there. He's also the Libertarian gubernatorial candidate here for the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire. So he gave a speech, and then I think at that point, well, I didn't see him. I was a little bit late to it, but when I got there, Jo Jorgensen was on stage, and she was taking questions from the audience, which I would say was at least 3 or 4 dozen strong. From what I heard, the official number was 66 at some point during the event, which was rainy. So to have that many people out was
I was gonna say this is outdoors, so it's not like There
was no protection from the rain.
As soon as the rain starts coming, it decimates numbers.
Yeah. And in this case,
you're saying there would have been 600?
No.
I don't know how many people would have showed, but it probably would have been more than what showed.
He's using the other definition of decimate.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about the definition where it means 1/10 of?
Yeah. Decimate means to reduce to 1/10 of. Yeah. So, like, you kill 9 out of 10 if you decimate the city.
I was using the word liberally.
Yes. And so it looked to me like, as far as just what I thought of her presentation and all that, she's definitely better than Gary Johnson. There's no doubt she's a better libertarian, I think, than Gary Johnson.
But he wasn't hard to beat.
No, he wasn't hard to beat.
Yeah.
I will never understand why everybody hates him.
I don't hate him.
Oh, he made one comment I didn't like once.
Whoa, did I say I hated him? Did I say I hated him?
No, but it's
he's very nice. Actually, he sat in that very same chair as you, nobody, and he's a very nice man and very friendly and great to interview, and he wasn't terrible. He just wasn't that libertarian on a lot of things. It doesn't mean I hate him. I just don't think he should have been the presidential candidate. That's all.
Okay.
I think the libertarian. You and I disagree on this, and it's fine. We'll keep having this disagreement. But when I got into the Libertarian Party, the presidential candidate was a guy named Harry Brown. And Harry Brown was a very principled libertarian. Harry Brown knew that he wasn't going to win the election. he was getting the ideas of liberty out there in a very principled way. He was talking about taking a wrecking ball to the IRS building and then selling off the rubble as like mementos, basically, to people who wanted to sort of have a piece of history, basically, by the rubble of the IRS building. Yeah. And Jo Jorgensen is closer to Harry Brown as a libertarian than she is to Gary Johnson as a libertarian.
You see, to me, that's just a difference in, maybe she's slightly less realistic in what she might be able to accomplish in 4 years, which is fine because she's not going to
totally
get elected
unrealistic.
either.
She thinks she's going to fix things. I actually talked to her after she got off stage. I wasn't going to ask the question because I figured it'd be more important for people who had never talked to her before to ask questions. But when she was off and after she talked to everybody, I was still around. They brought her up to me, and I guess her campaign staff recognized me, and I didn't recognize them. They all had masks on with the exception of Jo Jorgensen, which was disturbing. That's a whole other aspect to the story. But then I actually asked her a follow-up question because when we had her interviewed here on Free Talk Live, I think it was probably like a month or so ago, she was pretty good on almost all the questions that I asked her, with the exception of secession. I asked her about secession, if like New Hampshire or California or whoever were to secede and Jo Jorgensen were president, what would you do?
If that's the only objection
what
to
did she say?
secession, I'm not. That sounds like a pretty good candidate.
Well, that's what I said. She's definitely the best candidate they've had in the last 19 or so years.
Yeah, I didn't like Barr at all. He was awful.
He was the worst.
What exactly did she say about secession?
I can't remember exactly, but essentially she dodged the question. She didn't really have an answer. And to be fair, she'd probably never been asked the question before. So it was probably an unusual...
And it's kind of
dodging is sometimes the best thing you can do.
In some sense, it's kind of a weird question because it's not something I think anybody anticipates who's asking the question for the immediate future anyway. I mean, it's just not.
Sure, it's
realistic,
a fantasy
right?
question.
It is a fantasy question. So it's like one of those things.
But a lot
where,
of libertarian stuff is fantasy stuff, like ending the war on drugs.
Sure,
that's not going to happen next year either.
Well, it's true, but there's a more realistic component in that there's something that can be done, right? And
I would say both of those are as realistic.
As secession goes, well, I mean, what can we accomplish in that area right now in the next 4 years or whatever?
What could we accomplish
or 2
on that?
years?
I mean, it just depends on who gets elected. If somebody who are actual secessionists got elected, let's say Aria, our co-host,
so you think there would be a difference if Aria got elected?
Aria would keep the feds from coming into Cheshire County, and she would arrest them.
I think that Arya would find that there's an ancient rule of theology is that God favors large armies.
Maybe so. But that's what she says she would do, and I believe she would make her best effort to do that.
I think she would try. It's just she would be a thin red paste when she was done trying.
I would support her in doing that.
I think she's ready to try that.
I just don't think that realistically, because you say you're going to do things at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen, and I think we're all on the same page of that. But I don't know that really furthers us along towards secession. On the other hand, I do see stuff happening in the drug war. At least in New Hampshire and some states.
In the next 4 years.
To me,
you're not going to end the war on drugs.
You're not going to end the war on drugs, but certainly you can inch away at it and reduce the amount of danger that's coming from it. I don't know how you could do that. I don't know how you could do that realistically in even a small way with secession.
It's secession, and it just depends on who gets elected, okay? So if all of a sudden a bunch of libertarians roll into the state house, then you can end the war on drugs and you can secede all in the same 2-year time frame. But the odds that are going to is going to happen very, very slim.
Right, and I think that's kind of the
people
the point.
Don't want freedom. They don't care about it.
Nobody expects there to be.
Some people want freedom, definitely.
Most of them.
I don't think anybody actually
not all of them.
expects that we are going to get enough people elected. Libertarians, actual libertarians.
Right, so it's all unrealistic. There's more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live, 855 450 free like freedom.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Document leak shows trillions of dollars of illegal activity by major banks. Alibaba files more blockchain patents than any other company in 2020. MicroStrategy's, a publicly traded company, bought $175 million worth of Bitcoin last week. As little as 2/3 of Bitcoins will ever circulate. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com. Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government, the real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Self-411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Self-411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Self-411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Self-411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Self-411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Self-411. Get it today at getself411.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
Free Talk Live. You can dial in. The toll-free number here, if you want to join us, is 855-450-FREE. Like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can also call on our Matrix server. There's a new server that we got for chat. If you haven't set up an account yet, just go to chat.lrn.fm. You can walk through the steps there and jump in there. And then if you call us through that server, and there's instructions on how to do that at chat.lrn.fm. If you call through that server, you will sound way better than if you call on the phone. But that's where we're going to go coming up here. We actually have a call coming in from across the time zones, across the days. It's actually tomorrow morning, where Dave is calling in from Saipan. Dave, you're on Free Talk Live. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Just thought I'd check up on you guys, give you a little bit of an update on how things are out here in the far-flung reaches of the American empire.
Yeah, please. Would love to hear about it. For our listeners that aren't familiar, our co-host Mark Edge moved out there earlier this year and became a Saipan resident out that way. He's expected to go back out sometime this December, I think. So we may end up bringing back the Mariana's edition of Free Talk Live at that time. And Dave, you were one of the co-hosts of that show at the time.
Yeah.
So, what's going on out there?
Well, they're still trying to, do the whole COVID thing here. Every time somebody on Guam dies, who's 75 years old with other conditions, they tack on the COVID thing because they want, they want to get the federal money.
And they're getting a lot of federal money, from what I understand, right? There's a bunch of taxpayer dollars that are being funneled into the islands, and they're putting up, as I understand it, they've put up like FEMA camps, basically, where people who are trying to travel there or move there actually have to be into a forced quarantine for 2 weeks. Is that still going on?
Well, I wouldn't call it a, quote, FEMA camp because that kind of, brings up the images of
FEMA
tents and things like that. But no, I think what they're doing, they're using the Canoa Resort, which is one of the hotels out here, as the quarantine facility. Guam, I'm not really sure exactly what's going on Guam, but it's a lot worse over there.
Isn't it true, though, that it's FEMA who's actually administering this program, that they're either cutting the checks or actually running the quarantine?
Yeah. There's that. I do believe, FEMA is doling out the money, but then they're giving a lot of the money to the local government to dole out. Like, for example, there's that PUA payment, which I think is like a pandemic unemployment assistance. And there's a lot of people here in Saipan who are angry because the my government is like holding that money back and not giving the people their money on time. And it's basically the local government is taking an interest-free loan from the people who actually need the money. I got a friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name, but a friend of mine is actively suing the government over that.
Oh, excellent.
Right now. Yeah, and I'm fully behind him. And then we're also looking at a couple other challenges. It's like as of yesterday in the Mariana Variety, we've had 79 positive cases on the island and 2 deaths in 6 months. And the 2 people who died, one of them was like 77 years old, and he was on kidney dialysis. And the other person who died was like 70, was a lifelong chain smoker, had diabetes, had heart disease.
So
and it's just ridiculous.
So it sounds like you're not going to have to slaughter and eat the men anytime soon.
It sounds like a lot. It sounds like a lot of people that have been infected there. Is what's the population on the island again? Maybe it's bigger than I was thinking.
55,000.
55,000. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller than Cheshire County.
I would say it's closer to 44,000.
Okay.
And so we got 44,000 people, and they have this like tally every day in the paper, like I don't know, like it's the Hunger Games, and the cannon goes off every time somebody on Guam goes from 96-year-old man with pre-existing conditions dies of COVID.
Right.
Like literally, it's that they won't even publish my comments in the Mariana's Variety anymore.
Really? The news media there, is that one of the 2 local papers, the Variety? Is that what that is?
Yeah, we got the Saipan Tribune and the Mariana's Variety, and
are they both totally fallen in line with the state COVID craze, COVID crackdown kind of editorial viewpoints?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Also, what are the people? Tell me about what it's like on the streets there, because like here in Keene, New Hampshire, which is sort of the lefty side of New Hampshire, both physically and politically. There's a lot of lefties out here. There's a lot of mask compliance. Plus, there's actually an ordinance here mandating people wear masks in restaurants. I won't do it. There's a bunch of us that ignore it.
I was the only person in Walmart today who didn't have a mask on. Yeah.
So there's tremendous compliance. What's it like there?
It's hit and miss. It's kind of like I've seen some people getting their businesses shut down by the COVID task force.
Oh, God.
For that thing, but it's kind of been selective enforcement.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like Keene.
And then like depends on where you go. Like there's a lot of places I go, they don't even they kind of like just give you a wink if you don't have a mask.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually sit outside because I smoke cigars, so I don't really have a problem. But going into the restaurants, I refuse to give my real name. Yesterday, I went to Ron Jeremy.
Oh, wait. So wait, hold on. They're collecting names. Are they also asking for phone numbers?
Yep. So,
wow.
So
are they kicking ass?
Like I usually tell them, like, I'm Joseph Goebbels, or like Edward said, I'm going through every male porn star name I can think of.
That's funny.
So, like,
are you
every once in a while, Ellen? Yeah, I like to use Eleanor Roosevelt. That always gets.
Are they asking you that around here? I've never heard of that.
No, it's just I use that when people randomly ask me my name, and it's none of their damn business. I'm Eleanor Roosevelt.
I haven't heard that.
I haven't heard anybody ask for a name or phone number at any of the restaurants I've been to.
What I'm told is they do that in Vermont. That's a policy that they do that in Vermont. And maybe there are some places in New Hampshire that do, but I have not heard about that happening.
I go to a lot of places in Keene, and I haven't seen it.
Seymour Butts.
Well, a good telephone number to use is 867-5309.
Yeah, and then everybody who's over the age of 35 should know that you're not telling them the truth.
Yeah,
in that case.
Yeah. What's hilarious is, like, there was a recent article in the Saipan Tribune where it was like, the governor was lamenting at how people aren't taking this seriously, and some guy even signed his name as Genghis Khan, and I'm thinking, he mentioned me. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So,
Is there a mask mandate in place on the islands, Saipan?
There isn't, like, walking out in the streets, but, like, you go into the store, and like, there's a restaurant that me and Alex go to all the time, and they kind of got a warning from the COVID task force. Like, the owner's, like, really cool, and he's like, so for him, I'll wear the mask when I go in.
I won't do it.
Kind of like. But no, I'll do it for him because he asked me nicely.
Dave, I want to say thanks, man. I really appreciate hearing from you. Thanks for giving us a Saipan update today.
Yeah.
And we got more coming up here in moments. It's Free Talk Live.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you receive the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at AnyPayInc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DivvyProject.org.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You're invited here if you want to join us. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Bitcoin.com. Plenty of features there for you to get into the world of cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. You can go to bitcoin.com, get started there, and learn the basics about crypto. And then if you aren't, in need of the basics, you can just go and get the latest news headlines. Just go to their news site at news.bitcoin.com. They've always got the latest on the world of cryptocurrency there at news.bitcoin.com. Lots of great free features on that site. And you can also buy Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash through the site at bitcoin.com. It's Ian, Nobody, and Chris in the studio here tonight. We just got an update from Saipan. Dave, former co-host here on the show, called in tonight. Hadn't heard what was going on down there in any great detail in quite a while. And it sounds like they're having similar issues as the rest of us with government crackdowns and government mandates and such.
So tragic. They have lost a tiny fraction of a percentage of their geriatric population in this catastrophe. And yeah. I don't know how they're going to recover.
Yeah, I mean, really, what they need to recover from is the loss to tourism, because now their number one, import, tourists, is gone at this point. So that's really where the damage is coming in places like that. Of course, if you want to comment on whatever you want, you can here. So I was talking earlier about Jo Jorgensen, the Libertarian presidential candidate, and her visit here to Keene today, and just sort of, giving a general review as somebody has watched a lot of these Libertarian presidential candidates over the year. I would say she's the best candidate the Libertarian Party has had since the year 2000. So after the Harry Brown campaign, I liked Michael Badnarik in 2004. I thought he was decent. Mm-hmm. He definitely was, not near as good as Harry Brown was. But what I really liked about Michael Badnarik was that he was willing to do civil disobedience.
Oh, wow.
So he actually still, I'd say, has a bunch of points over Jo Jorgensen for just that single reason alone, where he actually showed up to, and along with I believe it was David Cobb from the Green Party presidential candidate, and Badnarik, the Libertarian, showed up at one of the presidential debates and tried to get in and got arrested. basically, I don't think they got anywhere near the stage, but essentially they tried to get up on the stage and got arrested for it. I think their charges ended up being dropped, so they never ended up, getting convicted or anything like that. They just wanted to arrest them to get them out, right? To take them away.
It would certainly be nice to have. I mean, what I'd like to see him show up with 100 armed militiamen and say, "You're guilty of treason. You are rigging this election by excluding important voices from it." And basically, okay, you kill people all the time. Why shouldn't we whack a few of you?
So I actually brought this up. I brought this up to Joe Jorgensen today. Like, what happened back when? This was really good idea. I thought it was great. And their response was, well, it's private property and we're libertarians, so we wouldn't do something like that. What would you say to that?
Well, first I'd find out whether it was really private property, because a lot of things that people think are private property aren't. Like,
if it was on a college campus or something.
Yeah. So that would be my first thing. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, they're collaborating with the enemy because the enemy is rigging the election, and everybody sees them doing it, and nobody seems to care. Nobody does care.
So it looks like the second presidential debate this year is expected to be at a Adrian Arst Center for the Performing Arts in Miami. A former Sears department store, so that may be private property in that case. But the third one is going to be at a university. But either way, my argument would be very similar, Nobody, and that is that, well, there's a lot of these businesses that are private property, but they're being told what to do by the government. In this case, being taken over by government debates. And their response to that was that, the Commission on Presidential Debates isn't the government. It's private.
Well, it is part of the government, though. It's part of the deep state. It's part of that point of cooperation between the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the media.
That's who runs the Commission on Presidential Debates.
Conspiracy in order to keep all power in the hands of Republicans and Democrats.
Well, is it a conspiracy if it's if it's done out in the open?
They're not, it's a conspiracy in that. I don't know. You'd have to ask a dictionary.
They
about
definitely
that,
did conspire at some point, though. I think you're right.
It seems almost. I think the real question is it funded? Is it funded or is it not funded by public?
It's funded by the Commission on Presidential Debates.
But is that funded by government money or is that funded by...
Well, if you pay a bunch of politicians and then they use their money to put together a private company, is that funded by government money?
And
if they're being paid with tax dollars?
Okay, in that case, is it anything that is paid for by the government with tax dollars, does that become government?
That's a good question.
Another thing,
I think it's hard to argue that. I think that's kind of a.
I think it's easier the more money the people get. So if you're a private business person, and you get 10% of your business from the government, it'd be hard to argue that you're a government tool. But if you're getting 70% of your business,
I would say you're a government tool, probably even at 10%. But I don't necessarily know that.
Well, then what are you at 70%?
I would say that if you're engaged in a conspiracy,
if you're at 70%, you're probably government. You're a university of some kind, and most of your money's coming from government.
I would say that if you're engaged in a conspiracy to enslave the entire nation, I have every right to shoot you in the face, much less invade your little debate.
That might be.
So if you don't like it, sunshine, go someplace else.
There is probably something to be said about self-defense, I think, in that they are arguing for and acting on violence.
Basically, the Commission on Presidential Debates is the Republicans and Democrats forming a club to keep everybody else out. Now, whether they're deep state or not, I don't know what the difference is. They're people who are statists.
Is the part of the state that is hidden that prevents anything from changing. They are hidden to most people. Most people think the League of Women Voters or something is doing it. Still.
Maybe, but I mean, to anybody who wants
to... The League of Women Voters literally quit doing the debates because they said it was a joke if we only include two candidates.
Sure. I don't know if I'm going to agree that if somebody is not willing to actually take a moment to look into something, that it's actually hidden. I mean, it's not a hidden secret who runs these debates. It's them. It's the Republicans and Democrats. And I think saying it's the deep state... I would say that
it is hidden, that they absolutely positively will never let anybody who isn't a Republican or Democrat in. That's not something they say publicly.
I don't know.
As a matter of fact, they lie. They lie every year by publishing a statistic on you have to get this percentage, like this year it's 15%, on polls that don't even include you as an option in order to get into the debate.
No, I guess it was 15%.
Yeah, and of course, you're not even going to get 10% on a vote on a poll where you're not even an option.
I feel like this is the wrong issue to be even discussing. It's a matter of them using violence, advocating, and then actually committing the violent acts against us, the population.
What do you mean that's the wrong issue to discuss? We were talking about the presidential candidates that led to a conversation about debates.
It doesn't really matter how it comes about. The point is that they are organizing to use violence to achieve their social and political objectives.
Well, of course they are.
Which to me is wrong. And that in and of itself is justification for, defending yourself against them.
Sure.
It's wrong in that perspective. You don't need to, even argue over how it comes about or whether it's funded by government or, any of those other questions.
Well, we were talking about whether or not what I was giving you was what the Joe Jorgensen campaign officially was saying in regards to why they wouldn't, bum rush the stage at one of these debates.
Yeah, and
so that's what we were talking about. It's not the same as self-defense.
I would agree. I just don't think I just don't know that's the question that I would have, wanted to be debating, I guess.
Well, they weren't
wasn't
actually
a debate.
Planning on debating the question, because if they had a chance to debate at all, the question would be moot.
Yeah, I was just asking a question.
Yeah.
I was bringing up an idea to see what they would say about it.
Yeah, sure.
And they're not interested in trying to get into the debates in that way. They're begging to get into the debates, but they're not willing to actually stand up and try to get into the debates, which is what they did in 2004.
If nothing else, I think it would be great if somebody found a way to sabotage the debate and prevent it from happening.
Sure. Why not?
Call in a bomb threat. Do something.
Well, I don't know if I'd recommend that. More coming up.
Silver has always been nature's very own antibiotic, and only one system allows you to generate an endless supply of natural silver solutions. SilverLungs.com. You'll find no wild claims or pseudoscience, just a lifetime of nano-sized pure silver solutions. The Silver Lungs generator allows you to make your own, so stop paying for silver solutions. The unique lung delivery system targets respiratory infections where other silver solutions simply cannot reach. See the Silver Lungs generator and lung delivery system at SilverLungs.com. That's SilverLungs.com.
Fifth Season Financial is a licensed lender, not available in all states. Visit fifthseasonfinancial.com for details.
Are you or a loved one suffering financial hardship as a result of an advanced stage illness like cancer, Alzheimer's, or ALS? Are the financial side effects of your medical fight reducing your quality of life and causing stress and worry? Did you know that you could be eligible for a special loan to access funds locked up in your life insurance policy? Text the word LIVE to 411-411 now. Fifth Season may be able to help you address your financial needs through our Funds for Living program. This simple-to-use program helps you access value that is locked up in your life insurance policy by lending you money against the face amount of your policy. This loan is not like other loans where you need to make monthly payments, and it only gets repaid out of the proceeds of the life insurance policy. Visit fifthseasonfinancial.com/radio and get approved quickly. If you need financial help, have an advanced stage illness, and a life insurance policy, text LIVE to 411-411. Text the word LIVE to 411-411.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit anypayinc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It is Free Talk Live. We invite you to join us here if you want to talk about whatever's on your mind. You're welcome to call in toll-free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And we also have the Matrix chat server where you can go to chat.lrn.fm and you'll get step-by-step instructions on how to get interactive there with other Free Talk Live listeners, of which there are now, I think, dozens. Let's check and see here how many people.
There's only dozens of Free Talk Live listeners?
In the chat server. I think we've got a lot more. We're actually about to crack 100 in the On Air Now channel.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say it's a pretty good start.
We're almost there. And you, of course, have your own channel now, Nobody. You've got Nobody Tells the Truth.
Indeed.
And I believe
that's coming up at 10:30.
That's right. And Freedom Decrypted also has its own channel there,
Absolutely.
which is pretty cool. That's one of the things I really like about this Matrix server as compared to the former setup that we had, which was a very centrally managed system where only the administrators could create channels. On this server, anybody who wants to create a channel can do that. Whether anyone wants to join your channel is a whole other question. So there's a nice variety of options there.
I like the Matrix setup, and I like the fact that we created, not only are we using Matrix now for Freedom Decrypted, but we're using the LRN Matrix server, which has a lot of other people. So now you actually have people in the room
there.
and chatting with each other.
It helps.
It's so much better. I mean, the same thing happened when we set up a Telegram, group as well for Freedom Decrypted. But it's like if you're on a server and nobody else is on it,
that's
there's
the point.
Yeah. So I think it's been a really good solution to the problem.
I agree. We're going to continue with your calls and thoughts, and then coming up, we got other stuff in the news to talk about, including, a woman has set herself on fire, and anytime, as I was saying,
Lord.
Yeah, anytime somebody self-immolates, I want to know what that story is.
Yeah, yikes.
Like that's the most serious form of protest anyone could engage in. So I'm going to pay attention. You set yourself on fire, your message is getting out, at least on this show.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely agree with you on that.
We'll see what that's about coming up here in moments.
When you're on fire, people get out your way.
Let's go to Andrew in Ohio. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I went to a GOP watch party for the debate, and
that sounds awful.
Well, you're going to be mad at me, but I'm definitely voting Trump. And
I'm not mad at you. It doesn't matter.
No,
it's not like it's not like it matters one iota.
Yeah, I kind of laughed when somebody was telling me how bad Trump was this afternoon on the other side of the equation. It's like, it doesn't really make any difference. It's like they just have this unrealistic expectation of
It was
everything.
dumb, the whole debate.
I mean, so are you, I know that this last year Trump signed the largest single budget in all of human history. Are you hoping that he will be able to outdo that performance and maybe jack another 10% of your life from
it's
you?
like, why are you voting Trump?
Well, that's a great, was that nobody? That's a great point, but baby boomers have 12 times the wealth of millennials, and if the Republicans I trust that they might actually, at least there's a possibility they would cut Medicare and Social Security.
You know the Republicans were in charge, right, for 6 years during the Bush administration?
They didn't repeal a single unconstitutional gun law.
They didn't repeal Medicaid. They didn't repeal Social Security. They didn't repeal any of those things that you were talking about.
This is the thing, though, about the liberal media. If anything of that happens, they're going to riot. They're going to riot. Like I
Let them
told you about the
riot.
Department of-
Wait a minute. Hold on. Are you
They're
saying
already rioting?
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the Republicans didn't cut government when they were in charge because they were worried the media was going to riot?
Say they can't because there'll be riots. But there's riots already, so they're going to. The possibility is there for them to do it.
So you're saying that the reason why they wouldn't do what they said they were, all about, which is smaller government, they did absolutely nothing to make the government smaller, and in fact made it larger during the Bush administration. You're saying the reason they did that was because they were afraid of riots?
If we have to burn some
Correct.
stuff,
It's ridiculous.
If you look at the 2000 inauguration of Bush, they threw eggs. They rioted during that.
Eggs?
That's how
Oh my God, we can't have any eggs.
Somebody
thrown.
panic.
I really
You're
have
hilarious.
to wonder. Do you listen to yourself? I mean, I am just amazed at people on the left and the right. And like, do you listen to what you're saying?
The excuses are ridiculous, dude.
I voted for Gary Johnson 2012, but I can't vote for this Joe Jorgensen if she's going to bend over for the left in this Black Lives Matter nonsense.
Wait, so are you saying that because she doesn't think that black people should be murdered in the street, somehow that's a reason? How many black people a year do you think they should kill in the street?
You're talking about other black people, which is not over 90 to 90.
I don't care. No. How many do you think should be murdered by
That's the
police?
point.
Because how many are murdered by private crime is not a question for government.
It's the Democrat Party that destroyed the black. If I was racist, I would vote Democrat Party. I would.
Well, I think you might want to think about that then.
I don't think there's any difference between the Republicans and the Democrats as far as racism
So
goes.
you
They're both
actually
racist.
think that so does somebody have to come out and say Black lives do not matter in order to get your vote?
Black lives don't matter to Black Lives Matter. If they did, they'd be protesting.
Well, no, I'm asking about you. Does somebody have to come out and say, I approve of executing black people in the street for nothing in order to get your vote? Is that what it takes to get you on board?
You're not backing your statement up with facts, dude.
He's asking you a question.
I'm asking a question. That's why.
Well, Jordan, let me ask you one question.
No, I just asked you a question. Why
first.
don't you give me an answer?
You won't. You're very emotional. You must have been a former Democrat.
Oh, I'm irritated. No, actually, men get enraged when you try to enslave them. Try being a man and see what happens.
First of all, 600,000 people died in the Civil War to end slavery.
That's not why they died.
What?
That's not why they died. The Civil War, slavery was a factor, but it wasn't the only. It wasn't the only factor. And Lincoln would have kept slavery if he thought it would have helped him keep the Union
he
together.
didn't outlaw slavery in the northern states. So
That's
the
correct.
idea that this is a slavery issue is nonsense.
What they died doing is enslaving the entire South because the South didn't want to be part of our country anymore. So the proper thing to do was say, great,
goodbye.
Don't let the door hit you in the butt on the way out, and then run guns down to the slaves until they manage to slaughter their so-called masters, and then your problem is solved.
By 1870, the Republicans already put a African American in the Senate. By 1870, Hiram Rhodes rebels. Your argument is insufficient.
Well, he's not arguing. He
And
asked you a
in
question. Hold on. Okay,
1920, they burned down Rosewood.
Wait a minute. Okay, look. He asked you a question. That's not an argument. When you ask someone a question,
he didn't have. What was it? Go ahead.
I asked you a question. Does a candidate have to say that black lives do not matter in order to get your vote?
All lives matter.
Okay. So if somebody says Black Lives Matter and all lives matter, and we mention Black lives specifically because for 400 years, nobody seemed to notice that Black Lives Matter, then is that a perfectly reasonable thing to say?
You're missing the point.
I think you're missing the point.
Yeah.
This is the most. We donate 7 times more than Europeans, but you love them Europeans.
Care.
You love them.
We donate more than Europeans? Who's we?
Yes.
I think he's talking about the theft.
Which is a predominantly majority white country. We are more generous. We are the most generous country in the world.
What does that have to do with anything?
Okay, so when we're not...
You're accusing the Republican Party who believe in self-sufficiency.
Okay,
he didn't say anything about the
Republicans. You're listening to a different show than I am. Stop telling me what I'm saying and listen to the words coming out of my mouth.
You didn't say anything about Republicans, nobody, at any point.
Yeah, I did not mention Republicans. I mentioned this moron.
What happened?
Who apparently the only thing you have to lose is
you don't need to name. There's no need to name. There's no need to name call here. But Andrew, what happened was you said you didn't like Jo Jorgensen because she's in favor of Black Lives Matter, and that's what led to nobody asking you the question that he asked you. So what is it specifically?
It's a Marxist group. They want to get rid of the black family.
Okay, none of that has anything to do with what she said. Did you even read her statement?
No.
Okay, well, maybe you should, because you're talking about Black Lives Matter, the organization, which is a few people with a web host, okay? I'm talking about the people out in the street who are not out in the street because they want to end the family.
Right.
They're out in the street because they don't want their family ended by police.
Absolutely true. You and I have been out at a few Black Lives Matter events. We've met these folks. There may be some Marxists who are running the, quote, organization, but for the most part, the people on the ground don't even know anything about that organization. They just like the idea of the police not killing peaceful people.
Yeah.
You know, they like that idea. And the fact is, a lot more blacks get killed by the cops than proportional.
Yeah.
More coming up here. Andrew, thanks for your call tonight. Definitely appreciate it. Looks like you got some research to do there. Hour number 2's on the way. This is Free Talk Live.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert at the hospital. I'm Lisa Lacera. After being diagnosed with COVID-19 last night, President Trump gave a thumbs up as he boarded Marine One on the way to a military hospital where he will spend the next several days.
The White House press secretary in a statement saying President Trump remains in good spirits, has mild symptoms, and has been working throughout the day. Out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of his physician and medical experts, the president will be working from the presidential offices at Walter Reed for the next few days. The White House physician reports that the president has been treated with the Regeneron Pharmaceuticals antibody cocktail. In Washington, John Decker, Fox News.
First Lady Melania Trump has also been diagnosed with COVID-19. She tweeted this morning she's experiencing mild symptoms. She is not accompanying the president to Walter Reed. Before heading out, he posted a message on Twitter.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
Former Vice President Joe Biden and his wife Jill have tested negative after appearing with the president at Tuesday's debate. During a campaign event in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he wished the president and the First Lady well, and he said the virus is not going away anytime soon.
Dr. Redfield said, and I quote, and he held up a mask, he said, "These face masks are the most important, powerful public health tool we have." Then he held the mask up again and said, "This face mask is more guaranteed to protect me against COVID than a vaccine," end of quote.
The Biden campaign issuing a statement saying it's removing all negative campaign ads while the president is ill. America is listening to Fox News. Precautions taken for the country.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to do it yourself, need help with design, or prefer measure and install services, they keep it simple with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. New window treatments are a simple way to really benefit the look and feel of your home. And Blinds.com will guide you every step of the way with free online design help. And if you're nervous about trying them, don't be. Blinds.com has over 30,000 five-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you. Go to Blinds.com now to take advantage of this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Country's top military officials after the president's positive COVID test.
In the wake of the president's positive COVID test, the Pentagon said the U.S. military's top officer was tested Friday morning and received a negative result. Defense Secretary Esper tested negative 2 days ago while traveling in North Africa, but will be tested again later today as a precaution. Esper will not be returning early from his trip. Both the Defense Secretary and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, attended a White House event with the president Sunday for Gold Star families. A Pentagon spokesman says there's been, quote, no change to the Defense Department's alert levels. At the Pentagon, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
Civil rights and voter advocacy groups have filed a federal lawsuit to try to block an order by Texas Governor Greg Abbott that reduced the number of drop-off locations for mail-in ballots, claiming voter suppression. The order, which took effect today, closes dozens of drop-off sites statewide. Abbott's staff said he was not limiting voting, saying that he has increased the period during which voters can submit their mail-in ballots in person to include any time.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The FBI has successfully executed a raid on the Visa Corporation, exposing what could be the largest credit card scam in U.S. history. According to authorities, the Visa syndicate for years fooled millions of Americans by issuing convincing-looking credit cards carefully designed to dupe consumers into spending far more money than they had. Investigators believe the fraudulent corporation also lured victims in with enticing rewards programs and free gifts, thereby trapping them in a spiral of debt they could never hope to repay. According to the results of a groundbreaking new study, 96% of humans would rather be a singing, dancing animatronic bear. The study finds that a great majority of people on the planet would prefer to trade in their regular lives for one in which they sat on a plastic log, strummed a banjo, and sang songs on a stage with all their goofy bear friends. Respondents also stated that not being a sentient human being with feelings of doubt, sadness, and pain contributed to the decision.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. We invite you to join us here as we kick off the second hour of the program. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris.
And don't forget, you can join us online anytime you want over at freetalklive.com. So do enjoy the features that you'll find there. A little bit of a different headline. We've certainly covered COVID to death. It just continues with the crazy crackdowns and mandates and all this nonsense. But here's a little bit of good news, because there is some good news here in 2020, and it's nice to be able to have a little bit of it. This story came out this week. Bitcoin sets a record 63 straight days closing above $10,000. Now, I don't know when Bitcoin closes because the market's 24 hours a day, but I think what they mean is that on this particular number, or 63 days, Bitcoin basically stayed above 10,000.
I think that would be midnight.
The whole time.
It hasn't even dipped below 10,000, so when it closes isn't relevant.
Yeah, it's 24/7. Bitcoin's
Yeah.
always trading. It doesn't stop. There's no arbitrary dictation on that. But it's good to know because it's a record. So Bitcoin has had a time. It was in late 2017. You guys remember when Bitcoin had that big run-up right toward the very end of the year, and Bitcoin eclipsed $19,000 and then took a huge fall down. Where the hell did it fall to? Like 5,000 or something like that? Or it was a big fall.
I think 7.
What was the last time?
It went as low as 3, though. After it fell. Like, it might not have been right away, but over the next few months, several months, it went down to as low as 3,000.
When was the last time it's actually had a substantial increase or decrease?
Well, I mean, over the last year, it's been up 33%. Would you consider that substantial?
To be like it's been pretty stable at around 10,000 for like a year.
No, it hasn't
6
been
months.
stable at around. No. I mean,
Pretty close.
Maybe a few months. It's been 10 to 12,000 for a few months at this point. But earlier this year, it was as cheap as $5,000 or $6,000.
This year?
Yeah, earlier this year.
Was it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think that was like a couple of years ago that it was 6,000. It had hit a low of.
It was 6,000 a couple of years ago, but it was also 6,000 earlier this year.
I don't remember that.
Yep. Nobody and I were selling it pretty actively throughout the year, so it was definitely around.
Well,
there.
I'm always keeping an eye on the prices, but maybe not on a daily basis. But
so now you've got 63 straight days where it has been over $10,000, and that's a record. So that's good to know. And there's also other records about Bitcoin, like more people, or there's more wallets right now than that have some amount of Bitcoin in them, or over a certain amount, like 0.01 or something like that Bitcoin. So it seems like maybe more and more people are getting on board and getting familiar with this, and I think that's a really good thing. So I just thought that was, a little bit of good news worth mentioning. There's not much else to say. Just say it's a Bitcoin set a record. So during all these difficult financial times, you're going to see things like Bitcoin and gold, precious metals are going to do probably better. Now, I can't predict the future, but usually that's how it goes. When the government pumps out a ton of money into the economy and inflates the money supply, you usually see the prices of things rise, and that's going to include Bitcoin. It's going to include gold, and I see nobody's got some silver here in the studio tonight.
Yeah. UPS guy just showed up, and
nice.
You got 100 Austrian Philharmonics for sale.
Ooh, I would like to see one. I don't need to buy it, but I suspect it'll be very pretty. So let's go to your phone calls and thoughts. We got Eric in Oregon. Eric, you're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Nobody, and Chris.
Hey, guys.
Hey, what's on your mind?
I just wanted to bring up the Trump supporters and Proud Boys who came to Portland a couple weeks ago and did their little demonstration.
Okay.
What did they demonstrate?
They came out to voice their support for their Lord and Savior Donald Trump, and rally up, or rather rile up left-wing protesters, and try to antagonize them into fighting them so they could play the victim card.
Really? Could you put that in more loaded language? It wasn't. We could almost hear what you were saying behind the snark.
So
what do you want to say about it?
You think the Proud Boys specifically are trying to gin up violence?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you don't think Antifa is doing the same thing?
Well, I don't deny that there's anti-fascist people who are doing stupid things. I think the property destruction is a really bad move, and I don't think it's helping anything. I don't think it's helping the Black Lives Matter protests.
Sure. Do you also think that some of the Antifa people are also looking to fight?
Very, very, very well, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they're basically about the same. Okay,
generally,
gotcha.
If I show up at the rally of somebody that I disagree with, heavily armed and swinging clubs at people, it means I want to fight.
I thought we were supposed to be doing this in the fields and things like that.
Who?
The armed militias.
Oh, you're talking about like a civil war kind of
Yeah,
thing?
isn't that where it's supposed to be, in the fields, not in the streets?
Eric, are you there in Portland, or where are you calling from in Oregon?
Yeah, I'm in Portland. I'm in Portland.
So what did you want to say about them?
I think you already said it. Keep going.
With that, I don't know if you guys been keeping up with this, but there's been I don't know if you know Joe Briggs. He used to work for InfoWars.
I don't know him, no.
Well, he's affiliated with them, and he's been coming out to Portland as well. And a lot of the guys who are coming out to Portland actually don't even live in Portland or even in Oregon. They're coming from places like Texas and Mississippi and stuff like that. And they're coming out because, they feel as if they have authority to say who can and who can't protest. And
now, have they actually said that? Have they said, we're the Proud Boys and we're in charge here and no one can protest in Portland?
Well, they've nearly all but said that. So people like the leaders have been coming out saying that that the protests in Portland have been going on for too long, and they're coming here to clean up the streets and put a stop to it. And to me, this is just like once you really look behind the cover, it's super authoritarian and outright fascist.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like tough talk to me. I mean, I don't know how reality, how jibing with reality it's going to be, as far as like if they're outnumbered, they're not going to do much to clean up anything.
Yeah. What did they actually do? Did they like go and try to prevent people from protesting or burning things down?
Well, they've been coming out here for a while, for multiple years now. But the most recent big thing was, I think, like in August, there was another Trump rally they had here where they drove through the streets of Portland, and there was Trump supporters with paintball guns, and they were shooting people outside of their trucks.
Now, I saw this.
Were any of these people Proud Boys that were doing this, shooting people?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it's hard to say exactly, what.
Well, yeah. How would you know how would you know? You've got a guy in the back of a truck shooting paintballs at people. He's obviously a Trump supporter because the truck has a Trump flag waving from it.
Well,
but I don't know if you
could
can
false flag also.
But I don't know if you could presume that person is a Proud Boy just because they're a Trump supporter. I suspect Proud Boys are a subset of Trump supporters, so they may have been there. And I did see some of this video that he's talking about. Now, my understanding is the other side of this story is that, yes, there were indeed people shooting paintballs from inside of the truck beds at the people around them, but the people around them were allegedly throwing things at the people in the trucks, and so who shot first is a whole other question. There apparently were like urine bombs and other things being chucked at the people in these trucks, so it's not like the people...
it's like they're attacking people and then playing the victim.
Well, I don't know who's attacking who. That's all I'm saying is, I mean, the way you're telling it, Eric, makes it sound like only the people in trucks were, throwing projectiles. But the reality is, it sounds like both sides were.
That could be. I didn't hear anything about the left wing people throwing anything, but that very well could have happened. Well, but I guess the main point I'm trying to say is, again, the Trump supporters are coming in from just completely far out state.
That happens with the Antifa people, right? Like when you
Antifa travels to rally too.
Yeah, when and I don't think there's anything wrong with either of them traveling. I think there's wrong with violence. I think there's wrong with destruction of private property. And Eric, thanks for the call here tonight. I definitely appreciate hearing from you. But yeah, when the Minneapolis protests were happening, there were people in the streets asking. They were interviewing people. Hey, where are you from? And they would say Chicago. Or, 2 states away or whatever. There's more coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org. News from news.bitcoin.com. Document leak shows trillions of dollars of illegal activity by major banks. Alibaba files more blockchain patents than any other company in 2020. MicroStrategies, a publicly traded company, bought $175 million worth of Bitcoin last week. As little as 2/3 of Bitcoins will ever circulate. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Doodle, Stuart, Harold, and Pork Chop. Pork Chop, his beautiful blonde coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. They did a DNA test on the 4 rescues. The first year is just a complete retraining. Lots of love, discipline, and daily upkeep. I'm a registered nurse and a personal trainer. If I eat healthy, then my dog should eat healthy. DINOVITE.com. They need the vitamins and minerals that Dynavite provides.
Dynavite is nutrition.
Harold, the Border Collie Pit Mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. Doodle, he's a poodle cocker spaniel. His energy is tremendous. The Dynavite will make your dog happy, vivacious, jump up and down, wag their tails. It will make you smile.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite at DINOVITE.com.
Free Talk Live.
We're talking about piracy. The Barbary pirates were attacking American merchant ships and taking the sailors into slavery.
Yep.
Which is a little worse than conscribing them like England was. England was just making them, do a little bit of work. I mean, it certainly was slavery, but to a much lesser extent. Did they get the doubloons? That's what I want. When somebody from the Sudan takes you into slavery, you're in slavery. Yeah. That's slavery in its rawest sense. So he sent over the Navy in order, Well, that's the risk you take on the high seas. Trying to think, this famous American pirate, but I can't remember his name offhand. Blackbeard. Now Redbeard. No. Goldbeard. Maroonbeard.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Live video of our Keene, New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. Coming up, a Russian journalist set herself on fire and died as a result. We will tell you
that'll happen.
What happened, why she did it, and that story is on the way here tonight. With you, it's Ian.
Nobody.
And Chris is with us, too. Hey, want to let you know about Divvy. It is a newer, easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we've been promoting here on Free Talk Live. And I did finally get the chance to set the masternode up because they've been promoting that they've got this, one-click masternode. And I don't know if they're using that term anymore because it did take more than one click. But it was pretty darned easy. So it wasn't too many clicks. You don't have to do the actual setting up of the node. They've got sort of an automated process that gets that done for you. So basically, you just pay for the hosting of the node, and you're good to go.
Can you host it yourself?
There is a way to do that too. I checked into it. So yes, but I wanted to try.
Is there a profit opportunity from doing it? Because I've been considering that.
I would presume so. I don't know how much, and I can't explain to you the different tiers offhand right now, but there's an explanation for that over on their website, which is divvyproject.org. There's different tiers, so the more Divvy that you have locked up into the node, the greater your chances of getting whatever those rewards are. And there's different odds based on the tier that you're in, as I understand it. But yes, so you don't have to do the centrally hosted masternodes. You can do a roll your own masternode. But for those who are not of the technical ilk, because it used to be you had to hire somebody who was an IT guru to set one of these things up. You wouldn't, because you know enough about running your sysadmin, so you could do it. But your average Windows user, they're not going to be able to set up their own masternode. So I'm sorry, that's just the truth.
Yeah, your average user, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if I really wanted to research it, I could probably hack my way through it given enough time. But even I would, with a fair amount of computing knowledge, I would probably hire somebody to set up a masternode in the past. And I have actually done that. So like Zencash, there's a couple of masternodes that the church has for Zencash, which is now called Horizon. I should use the correct term for that.
I thought it was just Zen now.
Zen is the three-letter code for the crypto, but Horizon is, I believe, the full.
I thought that was the branding for the company, and Zen, they went from Zencash
changed it
to
from Zencash to Horizon.
The name of the company, but the name of the crypto is now just Zen.
Okay, I'll have to look into that, but I'm pretty sure that's just the three letters. But anyway, if you don't have somebody that can do that sort of work for you, this Divvy setup is really easy. So it makes it super easy to actually be a masternode. So check that out at divvyproject.org, divvyproject.org. And there's also staking available. So if you don't have enough for a masternode, you can still do staking, and there's benefits to that too. divvyproject.org. So we were just about to get into this story, but do you guys have any more comments on this last caller? He was calling in about the Proud Boys coming into Portland and pointing out that some of them were not from Portland. A lot of them had come in from the outside, which is, of course, the same thing that Antifa and any other protest movement has done. So a lot of the things he was pointing out about the Proud Boys also were true about Antifa. I'm not saying one side's better than the other or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, they should just put up a wall.
Antifa is definitely more aggressively violent.
Are they?
I mean,
okay, because he would like you to believe the opposite.
I don't know of any case where Proud Boys have gone out and stepped out from hiding and shot somebody in the face for walking down the street, like the Antifa terrorist did in Portland, as a matter of fact, the day after Kyle's wild ride.
I mean, it's that's definitely a horrible thing, no doubt, what you've just described there. But to pick one, I mean, look, I'm not going to defend either of these groups, okay? But to pick one person out of a group of, I don't know, what, a million, however many people are in Antifa, it seems to be relatively popular.
That would be one out of every 300 Americans.
I don't know. Maybe it's one out of 100,000. I don't know. But I mean, for one person to be a psychopath, I mean, that doesn't mean that they're all psychopaths like that, right? Like, there's been one guy who shot a guy.
All of them, the official stated position of the group is it's okay to hurt or kill someone for disagreeing with you.
Yeah, and that's not okay.
That is something Proud Boys would not stand behind that statement, I think. I looked into them because I wanted to find out after the debate. I wanted to find out what they were about. And the debate question, for those who don't know that brought this up, was somebody said, or the moderator asked Trump, would you be willing to denounce white nationalists? Okay. And he basically said, sure, who exactly do you want me to, or would you be willing to denounce white nationalists and militias? So they tried to make it sound like it was one thing when actually it's two completely different things. And when Trump said, well, who exactly do you want me to denounce? Biden said, Proud Boys. Okay. So I've heard of them before, and I knew they were somewhere on the right. I didn't know what they actually stood for. So I started looking into it yesterday. And
we had a phone call coming about it too.
And, basically, according to their website, which is proudboysusa.org, I believe, they have a statement of principles, and they call themselves Western chauvinists, which mean that they think that the Western culture is their favorite culture. But
the culture I was born into is the best culture in the whole world.
What a coincidence!
Yeah,
but they're explicitly anti-racist. The guy who runs it, I guess, the national leader now, is a black Cuban, I believe.
I've heard that.
And, so they're like the worst white supremacists ever, if they are indeed white supremacists, and I would say they're not.
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence for that.
Yeah.
I mean, are they chauvinistic? Maybe so. Yeah. Are they pro-government? They say they're for minimal government, but then on the other side, they're touting Trump. Yeah. So, I mean, these guys are not small government guys at all. They just believe that they are, and they're not.
Or they're just tricked by the Republican shiny things
Wake
line,
up,
which is the Republicans are great about arguing for smaller government while growing government.
They don't do anything to make it smaller, as we pointed out earlier with when they were in charge for 6 years. So, any other comments on these characters? I mean,
well, just the only thing that Portland would need to do to stop that from happening,
to stop them from coming in.
What they would need to do is secede from the United States and then have closed borders
and build a wall.
Build a wall.
They got to build a wall.
They don't have to build a wall. They could just have closed borders.
Now, are you saying that Portland itself should secede, but not the rest of Oregon, or the entire state? Because a lot of the rest of Oregon doesn't want to be with Portland.
Well, the thing is, I think they should. I think they should make that decision on their own. Anybody anybody who wants to secede from the nation can certainly go in peace with my blessing.
Yeah.
And I will still be very happy to trade with them. It's just I don't want them making my decisions, and I don't want to make their decisions.
Did I tell you guys on the air about what Jo Jorgensen said about secession today?
No.
Okay, because I asked her about follow-up. Because I'd asked her when we interviewed her about it a few weeks ago, and I asked her a private sort of follow-up question about it, and we'll get into that. And also, the woman that set herself ablaze outside of a government office in Russia will tell you what happened there. 855-450, free like freedom.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now's your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, We need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute. Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want. Just dial toll-free here. Whether you want to comment on the Antifa versus the Proud Boys or anything that happens to be on your mind, you can take control of the airwaves. We also brought up secession a couple of times here tonight.
If at first you don't secede, try again.
I think it is time. It's high time that we try that again and do it hopefully in a peaceful way this time. Now, of course, some would argue that the first time they tried it peacefully and the Fort Sumter attack was actually a false flag.
That wasn't the first time. The first time was when the 13 colonies seceded from the British Empire.
True.
That's true. And that also was not very peaceful either.
It's true.
Yeah. So we can talk about all those things. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom, plus the Russian journalist who set herself on fire. She has died as a result, and we'll tell you what that was all about coming up. Plus, want to make sure you know about AnyPay. It's a great way to accept cryptocurrency at your point of sale in your real-life business. But also, if you've got an online shop, maybe you have a WordPress website, and it's running the WooCommerce plugin where you've got a store, you're selling things online, you've been taking credit cards, PayPal, and you've been wanting to take cryptocurrency. Well, now AnyPay is going to make it easy. All you got to do is plug in with the AnyPay plugin into your WordPress site for your WooCommerce, and that's it. You put your email address in, and you're all set. If you already have an AnyPay account, if you don't have an AnyPay account, go to anypayinc.com, anypayinc.com. It's super easy to open an account. You don't have to wait for any kind of an approval or anything like that. You pick a username and password, and you are in. You set your cryptocurrency wallet addresses for Bitcoin Dash, Bitcoin Cash, or Bitcoin SV, and then you turn that plugin on for AnyPay through your WordPress, and you're good to go. It's that easy. Like within 5 to 10 minutes, basically, starting from zero, you can have this done, and that's pretty awesome. So I had mentioned that I brought up Secession at Joe Jorgensen's event. Now, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to ask the question up on the mic because I wanted other people who had not talked to her before, like just normal folks from Keene who were attending this campaign stop. I thought they should be the ones asking the questions. If she had like completely run out of questioners and she still had another question, I would have asked it on the mic, but she ran out of time and she's just kind of like meeting people afterwards. And so after everybody had sort of met her and the park was mostly empty, they came up and I asked her, I said, well, Joe, have you had a chance to think further on Secession? Because when I asked her on the air about it a few weeks ago, she didn't really have a good answer, and it's a fair thing to say, I don't know, right? Like if somebody asks you a question and you've never thought about it before, it's totally fair to say, I don't know, I have to think about that. That's not exactly what she said when she was on the air, but she clearly didn't really know how to handle the question. And I would say it was the only question she really botched when she was, otherwise the interview was pretty good. And unfortunately, she didn't really have a good response today when I asked her about it. She says to me in response to my question about, well, how do you feel about secession now? She says, I want to fix it, is what she says. Meaning fix the government. And at least I presume that's what she meant by fix it. And so, I basically said, well, I'm pretty sure you won't be able to.
Her optimism.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you won't be able to. Yeah. But I didn't really ask her the best question. I asked her the open-ended question of how do you feel about secession, whereas I should have asked her the more firm question that I asked her on the air, which is, were you able to decide what you would do as president if New Hampshire or California were to decide they wanted to secede while you were president?
That is a better question because she could not support it, but at the same time allow it to occur.
She could.
The way I put it, because this is a question that's really going to be put to a president if and when this happened, is if New Hampshire was bound and determined to secede, would you go to war with them to stop them? And if they say yes, I would say, how many human lives are you willing to sacrifice to keep the state of New Hampshire under your control?
Yeah, I would really hope she wouldn't say yes to that question. But
I don't think she would.
Definitely the way to ask it, to put them really up back them into the corner and make them, hopefully answer in the right way.
Yeah, it's like I asked, and it's a good way to look at a lot of questions. Like I address the pro-life thing the same way as, if your town allowed abortion or did not allow abortion and the next town over did, would you be willing to go to war with the next town over? And if so, would you still be considered pro-life when you were done?
Great question.
The question I always love to ask, and I think would be a good question. So do you support abortion? And if the answer is yes, up to what age do you support killing babies?
Yeah, and with me, I would say probably, I mean, if somebody had a 5-year-old who was, significantly damaged and had nothing in their future except pain, then I would say you have every right to take matters into your own hands if they are unable to communicate or what have you. So as a matter of fact, my 31-year-old wife, when she was dying of cancer, she was terminal, and I actually did make the decision to kill her. She died. I was
Are you admitting to something? You're not admitting to something.
No, actually, I was.
I think you might be misspeaking.
No. I made the decision. I went into the room where she was, and her father was there, and I didn't see any reason for both of us to go to prison. So I was waiting for him to leave, and before he did, she died.
Wow.
So that's but I had made the decision that as soon as he left the room, I was going to swap. She had 2 pumps. One was TPN, which was food, and the other pump was Dilaudid, which is a strong
Painkiller.
opium. And so I was just going to switch the bags so that the Dilaudid was being run in by the fast-running food pump. And
so the universe put a stop to your plans.
I think knowing Julie, she probably figured out what I was going to do and didn't want me to go through the consequences, because I'd also decided I wasn't going to lie to anybody about what happened.
Interesting.
Yikes.
Wow, thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's talk about more death. A Russian journalist died Friday after setting herself on fire. This according to France24.com.
And it just makes it clear that there's nothing that government does for you that you couldn't do for yourself.
Immolate yourself?
Yes.
On the front of the local branch of the Interior Ministry in the city of Nizhny Novgorod, a day after her apartment was searched by police. Her news outlet said. Prior to her self-immolation, Irina Slavina wrote on her Facebook page, quote, "I ask you to blame the Russian Federation for my death," unquote. Slavina worked as an editor-in-chief at Koza Press, a small local news outlet that advertised itself as having, quote, "no censorship, no orders from above," unquote. So she's in a critical role in the press. She's criticizing the Russian government, it sounds like. A day before her death, she wrote on Facebook that police officers and investigators had searched her apartment, writing they were looking for, quote, "brochures, leaflets, and accounts," unquote, from the Open Russia Opposition Group, which is financed by Kremlin critic Mikhail Khodorkovsky. She said they seized notebooks, her laptop, and other electronics, as well as her daughter's laptop and her husband's mobile phone. Russia's investigative committee said it was opening a preliminary investigation after a woman self-immolated in Nizhny Novgorod, a city of 1.3 million located some 250 miles east of Moscow. It did not name Slovenia in its statement. Members of Russia's opposition pointed to the pressure Slovenia had been under from the authorities. One of their politicians wrote on Instagram, quote, "Over the past years, security officials have subjected her to endless persecution because of her opposition activity." So she was an activist against the status quo there. Now, I don't know what that means she's in favor of, but obviously the government decided to make her a target. Another critic of the Kremlin wrote on Twitter, quote, "What a nightmare. All of these cases of police amusing themselves, these shows of men in masks, these are not games. The government is truly breaking people psychologically." So after having her home searched and her things stolen, and this I'm sure was just the tip of the iceberg of the harassment, she set herself on fire, killing herself in front of a government building there in Russia. More coming up here if you want to share your thoughts. What would make you do that?
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
Fifth Season Financial is a licensed lender, not available in all states. Visit fifthseasonfinancial.com for details.
Are you or a loved one suffering financial hardship as a result of an advanced stage illness like cancer, Alzheimer's, or ALS? Are the financial side effects of your medical fight reducing your quality of life and causing stress and worry? Did you know that you could be eligible for a special loan to access funds locked up in your life insurance policy? Text the word LIVE to 411-411 now. Fifth Season may be able to help you address your financial needs through our Funds for Living program. This simple-to-use program helps you access value that is locked up in your life insurance policy by lending you money against the face amount of your policy. This loan is not like other loans where you need to make monthly payments, and it only gets repaid out of the proceeds of the life insurance policy. Visit fifthseasonfinancial.com/radio and get approved quickly. If you need financial help, have an advanced stage illness, and a life insurance policy, text LIVE to 411-411. Text the word LIVE to 411-411.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, where we do still have the ability to criticize the government. There's, of course,
a degree.
Yeah. Well, to a larger degree.
I think there were some raids that may have been a result of certain criticisms.
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
but
we had our house searched
yeah.
once.
To a larger degree than in Russia, where a woman has now set herself on fire. A Russian journalist has self-immolated and died as a result of the injuries she's sustained out in front of a Russian Interior Ministry building after the Russian goon squad went through her apartment and stole a bunch of her stuff. So if you want to comment on that, you're welcome to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. I want to say thanks to Jenna Talia. That's actually the name that I've been told to read here, who is a Free Talk Live Platinum Amplifier, contributing at least $25 a month to the Free Talk Live AMP program. So thank you, Jenna, for doing that. Definitely appreciate the support. It's a way for you to get behind the show and to help us get Free Talk Live on more radio stations around the United States. Coming up, Chris, you're going to tell us a story about money laundering on the part, allegedly, of a Bitcoin exchange. Normally when we hear about Bitcoiners being arrested for money laundering, it's just one guy who's selling on local Bitcoins or running a Bitcoin vending machine or ATM.
The craziest thing is it's not even a U.S. company. It's some overseas company.
Ooh, well then, yeah, we definitely want to hear about that. That's on the way here tonight. And again, you can bring up anything that you want to discuss. Plus, coming up later, 10:30 Eastern Time tonight, don't miss Nobody Tells the Truth, which is your show, Nobody.
Indeed.
Do you have a topic tonight? Do you know where you're going, or are you just going to wing it?
I think I'm just going to wing it tonight.
All right.
I was actually trying to get a Proud Boy because I had a slightly more lefty person on last time,
week.
but I could not. I was unable to close the deal, so I might do that.
So you'll be
next
taking
week.
phone calls then. Phones will be open. Anybody who wants to call in?
Yeah, I will be taking phone calls, and especially I would love to interview people of all these different factions where I've never encountered somebody. Like I've never met a Proud Boy, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I've never met anybody who is explicitly Antifa, which is just as well because they usually decide I'm a Nazi based on my not wanting any government, which is, to me, a complete misunderstanding of what totalitarianism means.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't think
it's kind of weird.
I think you went to one of the big protests, didn't you, Chris? At the State House, like with the 400 people, the big Reopen New Hampshire protest. You went to at least one of those, I think, right?
I think so.
I didn't see any Proud Boys at that event. There was definitely some Boogie Boys. There were some Boogaloo guys there. So yeah, I don't know if there's very many
Boogie Boys. There were Oath Keepers there. And there were some random militiamen also, which are all, and those are, it's hard because those three groups, for example, it can be very difficult to distinguish which is which.
Well, the Boogie Boys will have the Hawaiian shirts usually.
Quite commonly.
And don't the Proud Boys have like gold or yellow and black or something like that?
I think they wear like black shirts with gold embroidery on them,
which means they'll be confused with the ANCAPs, right? Because the anarcho-capitalists tend to have black and gold as their colors.
They may well be, although I think this is a particular type of shirt that they wear. It's almost like a uniform shirt.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't know that much about them, but I don't recall seeing them. So we may not have very many of them up here, which, that's fine with me. So 855-450 free. What is Open Russia? I found myself wondering, right? The Russian government seems very interested in Open Russia. They raided a Russian journalist who was associated with them. She then set herself on fire out in front of Russian bureaucracy. And so I looked it up here, and according to Wikipedia, Open Russia actually has been banned in Russia. So that makes me even more interested in learning about this organization. According to a Google translated version of their website, which is openrussia.org, it's got a very simple about page, just one quick, 2 sentences. Open Russia is a Russian social network movement initiated by Mikhail Khodorkovsky. Anyone who considers it necessary to create a law-governed state with fair elections, regularly replaced power, and respect for human rights can join Open Russia. So that's it. So, they're
pretty
basically
simple. Sounds like pro-democracy.
Basically, yeah. And again, I don't know what they mean.
Pro-democracy would be opposed to human rights.
That's true.
Because democracy says that anything that half of the people want to do to the other half of the people is fine so long as they vote for it.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it actually doesn't use the word democracy here in their little about thing. It does talk about a law-governed state with fair elections, regularly replaced power, and respect for human rights. But I do agree with you on that, Nobody. Yeah. Democracy is, people seem to think it is respecting towards human rights, but they haven't thought about it that far.
Yeah, well, every gang rape is a democratic success story. The majority of the people involved will get what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there you go. That's a little bit about Open Russia. If you want to comment, of course, you're welcome to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Chris, did you want to talk about BitMEX? Are you prepared to
we can get
move
into
forward?
it if you're ready.
Yeah, well, whenever I hear BitMEX, I always think it's like a Mexican Bitcoin exchange, but it's actually not, is it?
No, it's I think the Seychelles.
Seychelles? How do you pronounce that?
Yeah, I'm not
Seychelles?
actually sure how to pronounce it.
Isn't it Seychill?
What is this? A city or a country?
I don't know if it's
a country. It's an island.
Okay.
I think it's. I'm trying to think where it is. Is it next to?
Well, an island is by
South
definition
America?
next to ocean.
I think it's near South America off the coast.
Seychelles is a country in East Africa, according to this.
Huh.
Oh, it's Africa. It's next to not.
Yeah, so it's
South
off
America.
the coast of Kenya. It looks like, and Somalia. So it's out there a little ways.
Oh wow, where the pirates come from?
Yeah. Somalia is that's actually one of their. I was actually looking at their Wikipedia page, and it's one of their big problems in that area.
Were these guys Americans who just got told too many times to go to Somalia, so they did?
What is the story
this
here?
is good. Well, let's get into the story a little bit.
Where's it from?
And even that apparently wasn't far enough to escape.
Right? So this story is from Forbes. The title of the story is BitMEX charged with failing to prevent money laundering. No, are you guys familiar with BitMEX?
To prevent money laundering. So they failed to be law enforcement.
They basically were not cracking down on people sufficiently, I guess. So BitMEX, a cryptocurrency exchange that allows you to trade digital assets with up to 100 times leverage, has been charged with failing to prevent money laundering and offering U.S. customers crypto illicit derivative trading services. Let's see here. Arthur Hayes, 34, Ben Dello, 36, and Samuel Reed, 31, as well as its first employee, Gregory Dwyer, 37, have been charged with violating the Bank Secrecy Act, which I always find funny considering that they're not
a bank.
They're not in the United States, though. Like, how can you be charged with violating a U.S. law when you're not in the United States?
I believe these are U.S. people who incorporated outside.
But it's not you're not committing the crime in the United States.
Did they snatch them up in the United States? Were they living here?
I think one of them, but 3 out of the 4 were not. They have not been arrested because I don't think they're in the United States.
Okay, good for them.
So I don't know.
Smart move.
Let me keep going.
Yeah,
though.
please.
And conspiracy to violate the act by willfully failing to establish, implement, and maintain an adequate anti-money laundering program, AML. That's what it stands for. According to the statement by the United States Office of Southern District of New York, Reed has been arrested while Hayes, Diallo, and Dwyer remain at large. Each charge carries a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison.
Wow.
So wait a minute, how many charges were there? I don't know how many charges there were, so I don't know how much time they can get. But Hayes is an American-born. Okay, so one of them was American-born. Is he the one that they caught? Let's see. I don't know if
it doesn't matter. They didn't catch him yet.
Hayes is American-born, a current resident of Hong Kong, University of Pennsylvania alumni. Was previously hailed as one of the great crypto entrepreneurs. Prior to starting BitMEX in 2014, Hayes was an equities and derivatives trader, I'm presuming that's what they meant to say, for Citi and Deutsche Bank. According to acting Manhattan U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss, these defendants flouted that obligation and undertook. How do you flout an obligation when you're not even in the United States?
Right.
I still don't understand.
How does the Bank Secrecy Act create an obligation on anyone outside of the U.S. government jurisdiction?
The U.S. doesn't understand borders. Like, they just
the U.S. thinks it's the world government now.
Apparently.
That's a lot of its problem.
That's scary stuff, too.
And unfortunately, other countries give the United States, the power. So effectively, they do have worldwide jurisdiction.
Them if they don't. Anyway. What happened to Saddam Hussein? What happened to...
you make a good point.
What happened to Gaddafi? What happens to anybody who stands up?
Hold that thought. We're going to continue here. And their website's still up, by the way, bitmex.com, and it's restricted, so you can't access it from the United States. I presume it's been that way, but maybe not. More coming up.
Did you know you can support freedom of speech just by visiting shop.freetalklive.com? You'll see links to Walmart, Love Java, Newegg, and more. Every day, Free Talk Live is at the forefront of the liberty movement as the biggest liberty-oriented talk show in the world, giving you a platform to be heard on any topic. Get listener-only specials without doing anything other than an extra click. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. Use the links and buy what you'd be buying anyway. Take action now. Save and support freedom. Visit shop.freetalklive.com. It's shop.freetalklive.com. Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert. At the hospital, I'm Lisa Lacera. After being diagnosed with COVID-19 last night, President Trump gave a thumbs up as he boarded Marine One on the way to a military hospital where he will spend the next several days.
The White House press secretary in a statement saying President Trump remains in good spirits, has mild symptoms, and has been working throughout the day. Out of an abundance of caution and at the recommendation of his physician and medical experts, the president will be working from the presidential offices at Walter Reed for the next few days. The White House physician reports that the president has been treated with the Regeneron Pharmaceuticals antibody cocktail. In Washington, John Decker, Fox News.
First Lady Melania Trump has also been diagnosed with COVID-19. She tweeted this morning she's experiencing mild symptoms. She is not accompanying the president to Walter Reed. Before heading out, he posted a message on Twitter.
I want to thank everybody for the tremendous support. I'm going to Walter Reed Hospital. I think I'm doing very well, but we're going to make sure that things work out. The First Lady is doing very well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will never forget it. Thank you.
Former Vice President Joe Biden and his wife Jill have tested negative after appearing with the president at Tuesday's debate. During a campaign event in Grand Rapids, Michigan, he wished the president and the First Lady well, and he said the virus is not going away anytime soon.
Dr. Redfield said, and I quote, and he held up a mask, he said, "These face masks are the most important, powerful public health tool we have." Then he held the mask up again and said, "This face mask is more guaranteed to protect me against COVID than a vaccine," end of quote.
The Biden campaign issuing a statement saying it's removing all negative campaign ads while the president is ill. America is listening to Fox News.
2020 hasn't let up, but we have to keep this economy rolling. NetSuite will help your business make that happen. That's why over 21,000 companies, including Boll & Branch, makers of the world's softest sheets, choose NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system. NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, HR, inventory, e-commerce, and more. Everything you need all in one place. We talked to David Reed, CFO of Boll & Branch, about how they use NetSuite.
Before NetSuite, we were stitched together with spreadsheets and hope. Now I have only one source of truth for our financials, HR, inventory, and supply chain. Because NetSuite is cloud-based, working from home didn't change a thing. We're still bringing affordable luxury into homes all across America. I'm now closing the books 5 to 10 times faster thanks to NetSuite.
Let NetSuite show you how they'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/Fox. Schedule your free product tour right now at netsuite.com/Fox. netsuite.com/Fox.
Reaction from world leaders on the president's COVID-19 diagnosis.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu tweeting, "Like millions of Israelis, Sarah, his wife, and I are thinking of President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump and wish our friends a full and speedy recovery." Russian President Putin, in a message to the White House, noted the president's vitality, good spirits, and optimism, and hoped that would help him cope with the dangerous virus. From here in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson also wished the president a speedy recovery. Still, he also got COVID-19, also had mild symptoms to start, ended up in a hospital intensive care unit, admitted it was touch and go. Johnson was out of commission for about a month. In London, Craig Palcott, Fox News.
Airbnb says it will not allow one-night rentals over Halloween as part of its continuing effort to crack down on parties at its rentals. The move comes almost a year after a deadly shooting at an Airbnb in Orinda, California, where 5 people were killed during a Halloween party. The company says those rentals that were already booked will be
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Americans everywhere are enjoying their Sundays after successfully completing Mother's Day in less than 20 minutes this morning. Dads were able to wrap up breakfast in bed by 9:18 a.m., giving them plenty of time to mill about the garage for the rest of the afternoon. While children who spent a minute and a half this morning hugging their mothers are currently out playing street hockey. And after completely fulfilling their Mother's Day obligations with a store-bought card, teens are now free to leave and spend the day with their friends. The moms, who were quickly and efficiently lavished with cards, flowers, assurances of love, and 7 full minutes of family togetherness, praised the competency with which the holiday was carried out.
Oh, it was great. Charles and the kids made me feel completely appreciated, but they ended the holiday before I even got out of bed. Guess I'll go water the plants now.
But before the day-long celebration concluded early this morning, moms had their own job to do, making a brief, obligatory phone call to their own mothers.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Seychelles.
That's what the computer says.
Seychelles.
Seychelles is the country that we're talking about. The East. It's an island nation off the east coast of Africa, east of Somalia, out that way. And
is that where she sells seashells?
Apparently. Or they sell crypto. Now, maybe there is a seashell crypto. It wouldn't surprise me, given that somebody traded seashells at some point in the past for money.
Yeah, it was actually used as money in a number of societies like Polynesian.
Right. So what we're talking about is a cryptocurrency exchange that was organized within the country of Seychelles, and they've been, well, not entirely busted, but warrants are out for the arrest of all of the operators of this site. They found one of them inside the United States. You've got the rest of the story coming up, Chris. Hang on to it. We're going to get back into it. Going to start out, though, this hour, the third hour of Free Talk Live. Open phones, as always. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Going first to Dan in Idaho. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian, Nobody, and Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Dan, you're on the air. Hey.
So I just had a question. You guys have been talking about Chris Cantwell a lot recently. Do you think that he was always a racist and you guys did not know?
No.
Or did he become a racist? And if he did become a racist, like what made him become a racist, if you have any insight into that?
So I have some insight into this as someone who has spent a fair amount of time with Chris over the years, and I wrote in detail about this on a blog post that I made over the last week at freekeene.com. So if you want to read about my experience with Chris and why I think the way I do about him. For listeners who aren't familiar, Chris Campbell's a former host here on Free Talk Live. He moved in, I think, 2012, around roundabouts then, to the Keene area where we live here in New Hampshire. I don't know if he was a Free State Project participant or not, but there's a lot of people who've moved here as part of this libertarian migration. At the time that he moved, he was a libertarian, principled, well-researched, well-spoken libertarian. He was sort of marketing himself as this libertarian comedian that does this crass form of comedy where he's, kind of insulting and brash and I thought he had a good sense of humor. Mm-hmm. Some people didn't care for it, but, that's just how it is with people.
Kind of an edgelord.
And senses of humor, they don't always, meld well with everybody.
Yeah, cringeworthy.
Yeah, that's what you thought of him?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know him, I knew him a little bit later, so he was going more, more in the white supremacist, racist direction, but certainly I don't think he was quite to the degree that he was, by the time he went down to Charlottesville.
He was, the time when he was here as a libertarian, I didn't detect anything racist about him. He didn't, drop any hints or dog whistles or whatever about any kind of beliefs like that. In fact, he had talked about how he had a black girlfriend, at least one of them, while he was living in Long Island, which is where he's from, down in New York. So, no, I had no reason to believe that he was a racist in any way, shape, or form. And I think the reason why he went that direction is at one time, Dan, he actually admitted that the more people who hate him, the more money he makes. So Chris Cantwell's formula for success in life was to make people hate him. So he was always controversial. When he was a libertarian...
How's that working out for you?
It didn't work out for him, and it was a bad plan. But that was his plan, and for a time, it did work for him.
Yeah, I don't know if that, rationally that doesn't make sense. That kind of makes sense, but I don't necessarily know that the direction he stepped over a line that was, going to cause problems.
They call it jumping the shark.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think what happened, Dan, was he really did truly believe this, and he figured he wasn't making enough money being a failed libertarian comedian because he didn't really get anywhere with that particular career. And he always had IT capabilities. He could, pick locks and do locksmithing and things like that. So he had
That's not IT.
He did both of those things.
Oh, okay.
So he had different skills that he could have leaned on.
They do a little bit go together, though.
To do things. And he wanted to do other things. He didn't really see that as a way for him to. I'm sure he wanted the attention too, right? So he wanted to be this person and have people pay attention to him in a negative fashion because he believed it made him money. And I think that he made the conclusion at some point that becoming a racist would make him a bunch of money because then more people would hate him.
Do you think that it's fake, like a scheme to get attention, and he's not really racist, or he started out that way and became racist?
This is a tough question, and this is the one question I've never really been able to answer about Chris, and I've probably spent more time with him than most people around here. I'm sort of his unofficial minister, I guess you could say, and I don't know. After all these years, what I do know is that at least one time, and I think on more than one occasion, he has referred to Christopher Cantwell as a character. So how much of the Christopher Cantwell character is on top of or melded into the Chris who's the real Chris, whoever that is, I don't know.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
I just have one more question on a different topic. Do you guys know what happened to Sarah, who always used to call about the
No, we have
accident?
no idea. You're referring to a caller who the last time we heard from her, it was 2019. It was the summer. It was actually right before the Porcupine Freedom Festival that year. She used to be an almost nightly caller, and she called all the time about how frustrated she was with traffic laws and cars and things like that. She walked everywhere.
Wait.
Didn't she join Mothers Against Cars?
I think she created that. No, I don't think she was a mother.
Let me ask this: does anybody know if the Obama phone program went bye-bye after Obama? Because maybe that's why
a welfare phone.
Maybe that's why she stopped calling.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know. The other theory is that she got hit by a car.
That would be hilarious.
That's funny because she is always talking about it.
She always
how dangerous
talked about
the streets
that.
are.
So no one has heard anything from her, Dan.
maybe she thought that the
very interesting.
Thanks for the call, man. I appreciate it.
I wonder if she thought the streets were so dangerous because some guy with a car had been trying to kill her for years, and so like wherever she went, like cars were like almost hitting her.
I think she thought that all of the cars were trying to kill her, actually, not just one guy in a car. I think she thought all of them were out to get her.
But wouldn't it be funny if it was just one guy?
Speaking of one guy, here's James in Arizona.
And I'm off because this guy's a moron.
Well, if you're going to take your headphones off, then it'd be fair to not speak to him, okay?
Yeah, but I don't care about being
all right.
fair.
Well, I'll mute your microphone if you're going to keep it up.
Works for me.
Go ahead, James. Hello?
You fat, ugly pig. You can laugh all you want at me.
He can't hear you.
You said that the Saddam Hussein, yes, he can.
No, he can't. He doesn't have headphones on. I'm sitting here looking at him.
Just fine. You said that
no,
Saddam
he really
Hussein
can't.
was murdered.
If you're going to talk about what nobody is saying, if you're going to talk about what nobody's saying and he doesn't want to listen to you, then there's no point in having this conversation. Now, do you want to make a general statement? Go right ahead.
He's a total loser. That's why he doesn't want to talk to me. He calls me a moron and says Saddam Hussein was
okay, you're just
murdered.
a big crybaby. Goodbye. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can bring up whatever you want, for better or for worse. And I think for the most part, it works out for the better.
I think we just evidenced that.
So let's see. Back to the story here, Chris, that you were sharing with us about a website called BitMEX. And now I know why I never was able to join BitMEX as an exchange, because they don't allow people from the United States to join. Because I remember I'd looked into it before. I thought, cool, a Mexican Bitcoin exchange. I want to join because it's called BitMEX. I figured it must be Mexican.
Right.
I had the same impression of AppMex, which was...
You thought that was from Mexico as well?
Yeah.
Nope, not at all. And so I remember going there now, and they've got an error message when you go to bitmex.com at the top, which says that part of their terms of service say people in restricted jurisdictions cannot access the site.
That's particularly interesting because of what the attorney, I believe it's Attorney General here, is saying about this company.
And hold on, was this the federal Attorney General or New York State? I don't recall who's bringing these charges.
The FBI is involved, so I'm assuming it's
federal. Okay. So they're bringing charges, or attempting to bring charges, against 4 guys involved with this website for so-called money laundering. Yep. You'll tell us more about it coming up here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, and I do have a list of their forbidden jurisdictions. Actually kind of interesting. We'll share that with you, too. It's Free Talk Live.
Pork chop, his coat is very thick. He's an Akita, German Shepherd, Lab, Husky mix. Harold, the Border Collie pit mix, has the most beautiful jet black coat. Stuart, my rat terrier, has fur now where he never had it before. DINOVITE.com. Dinovite will give them a beautiful, lustrous coat. It will make you smile.
You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Document leak shows trillions of dollars of illegal activity by major banks. Alibaba files more blockchain patents than any other company in 2020. MicroStrategies, a publicly traded company, bought $175 million worth of Bitcoin last week. As little as 2/3 of Bitcoins will ever circulate. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. Toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Want to invite you to ForkFest 2021. You were there this year, Chris.
Absolutely. Couldn't have missed it.
It was a good one, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It was it was one of the best ones I think so far, and we've only had like four.
This
five?
was four.
That was four.
Year.
So five.
So
this
number five will be 2021. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th. So you can already start planning for this. And it's not like anything else is going to be happening. If 2020 is any indicator,
well, I hope there's other stuff happening. But
I hope so too, man. But I mean, I wish I could
still be there. But
yeah, I wish I could be as optimistic as these people who think that everything's going to clear up after the election. But I don't believe that for a second.
No, they're going to milk this thing until
the government has gotten the power and people have handed it to them, and they're not going to just hand it back. But ForkFest did happen this year. And we intend to have it happen in 2021 because the owner of the campground, Rogers Campground, his name is Crosby, and he's a gruff little fighter. Like I like Crosby, man. He's like, he doesn't care what the state thinks. He's gonna open up. He's gonna have people on his campground. And he was ready to fight. So that's the kind of business owner I want to support. You can go and grab up your campsite, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground, June 28th through July 4th. You can call them now. They're still in the office. They're probably starting to wrap things up now for the winter there. I think they still have some office hours at this time. During the winter, it's a little harder to get them, but I think you can still get them on limited days. But go to forkfest.party to learn more about the event. You can get connected with other Forkfesters, the ones that have already been, the ones that have yet to go, and of course while you're there, there's the chat room, the Telegram chat, there's the ForkFest forum. So get interactive with other people that are attending ForkFest 2021 at forkfest.party as we go to more of your calls and thoughts, and then we'll tell you more about this BitMEX.
When you say Forkfester, I have this image of a bunch of Uncle Festers with forks.
That'd be different. I don't know if that'd be as much fun.
Just that combination of the other part of that. It's just.
Let's go to your phone calls. More about BitMEX, but first, Ron is in New Hampshire. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Ron.
Yes, I have this image of this nobody.
Oh, I'm sorry. You already called once. Goodbye. In fact, I'm going to actually dump your call. So that way, even fewer people get to hear you because we have simple rules here on this show. We don't have a whole lot of rules. But one of those rules is only one call per night.
If you want to come up and meet me in person, though, I'd be delighted to fight you, moron.
Jeez.
All right, so 855, 450 free. We've got David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, David.
I got to hear that, or had to hear that, or got to hear that.
Yeah, you're on the phones. We don't dump out the phone feed. Anyway, go ahead. What were you calling about?
You posed the question earlier, what would make you do that? And I tend to remember you had a gentleman in Keene, New Hampshire that did that.
We did. You're referring to self-immolation, just to be clear for anyone who's tuning in.
And you're referring to Mr. Ball.
Yeah, his name was Thomas Ball, and
that was a terrible story.
It was 2011, and he set himself ablaze outside of the court building here in downtown Keene, and it was over a parental issue with kids and the government getting involved in divorces and children. I don't know if there was a divorce. There probably was, but he at one point allegedly hit his daughter in some sort of a punishment act, which I'm against that sort of thing, but it's not my family, so it's ultimately, in most cases, none of my business.
Even people make mistakes. People do things
and
that
that
they regret.
Yeah,
and it's one of these things where it's like the reaction to it was just so disturbing relative to the minor thing that he was accused of.
Yeah, he split her lip. And that's not cool.
No, definitely not.
And he was sorry for it, right? But ultimately, that wasn't the only problem. That he got into it with the courts, and he was facing more time in jail. He didn't have a job at the time. It was a difficult economy for him, and he was unable to pay whatever child support they were demanding out of him. And if you don't pay their extraction, they send you to jail because you can totally make money there.
If I recall correctly, it was even worse because it was something like I think it started off as like there wasn't anything wrong with the family, and the cops showed up because somebody else called them or something.
I don't remember that detail.
And then they were separated or something, and
I don't remember all
there
the
was
details,
no conversation between the wife and the husband because there was some sort of like protection order, so he couldn't communicate. So for 5 years he couldn't communicate with the wife, and they eventually divorced, I think, happened. But the whole thing is, it was all because of the state, because the state got involved in the first place.
So, David, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I wanted to remember everybody that you had a guy do that right there in Keene.
That's right.
And that it was he did that because as he saw it, the state, the government, had destroyed his life.
Yes.
And he alleged wrongfully, and I would agree wrongfully, that their reaction is overreaction by like 100-fold. He did something he should have done, and then it's just a chain of events. And I can relate. And no, I wouldn't do the same thing because you had asked, remember, you had asked what would make you do something like or do that. And the answer is I would never do that, but I would do things like call the MFN public radio station KUNM and try to tell everybody about it until they do what? Until they silence you, because they're the government and they got to protect their own. And then they call their private what do you call it? Men with guns, their private gang, to arrest me for calling in, attempting to get out, to spread the word on their radio station, and then spend 13 years now continuously in court fighting my government. And you know what? To me, and it should be to everybody, the United States of America does not exist. It's a fiction because there was a contract written day one and a war was fought over it. And the contract said, 1 through 10. The government can't do this. The government can't do this. The government can't do this. And they do all of them.
Yeah.
So you've broken the contract, United States of America. You don't exist.
See, they actually still don't quarter soldiers in civilian homes except in time of war. So the Third Amendment they don't violate. The rest.
I disagree. There was a time where they didn't violate that, but actually after Hurricane Katrina, there was a video that the mainstream media news put out where I believe it was National Guardsmen. They look a lot like soldiers to me. They had actually taken over a church.
They are now.
And
they are
were
soldiers.
Quartering themselves in. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They look like soldiers. Some
they
people
look
would say,
like
well,
it, and
it's
they
not
are
the military. But they took over a church. And without permission of the owner or anything like that, they just we need a place to go into, so we're just going to quarter ourselves here. So they did that.
Wow.
Yep.
Right, and did they even follow the Constitution at all? And
do they ever?
Pay the church I doubt it, but so then let's follow up. Did they pay the church for the use of the church? Because that's another thing, is they can't take any property without fair compensation.
Yeah,
so
I don't know.
They took property, so that's the other thing. I doubt they ever paid them for the use of the property, which they're required.
Is that in the Constitution about the compensation?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of interesting because you can't sue the government over, stuff that they would be liable for.
No.
So there's no way to actually secure compensation when they don't pay you.
Well, that's one of the many ways in which they're in breach of contract.
David, thanks for the call tonight. Definitely appreciate it. As always, toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. We're going to get deeper into this story from Forbes that you've got about BitMEX. And no, they're not a Mexican Bitcoin exchange. Turns out they're from Seychelles? Seychelles? I'll have to pronounce it again. A very, very small island nation. And interestingly, the nation in which the organization was founded is also on their restricted nations list, which is pretty interesting.
That is really interesting.
Free Talk Live is aired on nearly 200 radio stations throughout the week, and we've been doing this for almost 18 years. You can call in any evening from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern to talk about whatever's on your mind. Sure, you can waste your time on Facebook and reach dozens of surly posters, or you can call in with your issue and reach 3 surly hosts. Oh, and nearly 500,000 weekly listeners. The number is 1-855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up anything you want here. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. We're talking about a Bitcoin exchange that's been targeted by the U.S. federal government gang, but they're not based in the United States, and yet they're facing criminal charges.
Yep. Yeah, and apparently it seems that 3 out of the 4 aren't in the United States.
One of them already got picked
arrested.
up.
Right.
The fourth guy already got
I'm presuming it's because he's in the United States, but
yeah.
Let me continue and we'll continue if we can.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay. According to acting Manhattan U.S. Attorney Audrey Strauss, these defendants flouted that obligation and undertook to operate a purportedly offshore crypto exchange while willfully failing to implement and maintain even basic anti-money laundering policies.
So these psychos actually think that any person anywhere in the world is obligated to follow U.S. law.
It's insane.
Without any right to vote in the United States,
right?
Without anything.
Presumably. Yeah, I mean, talk about, representation and stuff like
no taxation. Well, they're not even being taxed.
It's not a taxation issue, but it's still a representation issue. You're being forced to oblige laws in a country for which you have no representation. FBI Assistant Director William F. Sweeney Jr. added that one defendant went as far as to brag the company incorporated in a jurisdiction outside the U.S. because bribing regulators in that jurisdiction cost a coconut.
So this is what they're upset about. They're getting cheaper bribes, and they want them paying off the American government in real money is what they want.
That's a great point, nobody, because I know that in New York, which is the one state that came up with the so-called BIT license, which is a regulatory scheme that they're shoving down the throats of these Bitcoin businesses like these exchanges. It costs at least $100,000 to go through the BIT license application process.
Oh, so they're shutting out unfair foreign competition from politicians who are cheap to buy off.
100% an issue of competition and shutting down foreign competitors wherever they can. It's interesting because the number of people living in the Seychelles is like under 100,000 people. It's like the smallest independent country maybe in Africa or something.
Really? No, really?
Yeah, if you look at least according to Wikipedia.
There's a couple of island nations that are pretty small.
Yeah, it's like under 100,000 people though.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was 55,000 or I forget what the number is exactly, but it's really tiny basically is what I'm trying to say. And Seychelles. Yeah. So
according to the robot here, I don't know.
Yeah. is that like a correct pronunciation robot?
According to Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia, that's the correct pronunciation.
Yeah, so the parent company for BitMEX is incorporated in the Seychelles.
Seychelles.
In a related civil action, the U.S. Commodity Future Trading Commission named Hayes, Dello, and Reed, and the 5 BitMEX-related companies, HDR Global Trading Limited, 100 Holding Limited, ABS Global Trading Limited, Shine Effort Incorporated Limited, and why so many companies? And HDR Global Services Bermuda Limited. Maybe because they have to operate in certain countries. So I'm guessing they're basically incorporating.
They got something going
each
on.
of the countries that
what are they saying
they operate in, but they're not operating in the United States. So it doesn't matter.
But what are they alleging?
Anyway, operating an unregistered trading platform and violating multiple
Why would they
CFTC
register with the United States government?
I don't know. They don't operate in the United States. And I want to repeat. So
there's a ton of places online. A lot of these crypto exchanges do not allow U.S. people to create accounts.
It's not even like, so here's the thing. It's like, if you're not advertising to U.S. persons and you're even going out of your way to restrict it so people can't use your services from in the United States, how on earth can you possibly claim jurisdiction over them?
When are they going to start arresting Mexican pharmacists for filling prescriptions without an American prescription?
I understand the argument.
Doctors for seeing patients in Mexico.
Right.
You're not licensed by the United States. We're not in the United States.
I understand the argument and like the law and the way they're trying to apply it and make it work, but it doesn't make any rational, logical sense.
This does not make sense.
It's like they try to manipulate and things into that just don't work.
Didn't they do this to a guy who was running like a gambling operation? Like when a few years ago he came through the United States and they snatched him up.
In
the airport.
They basically deceived him into coming into the United States. Which, Which in another sense that would also be potentially criminal activity. That the government is
something different.
No, but no, it is probably entrapment wouldn't be the right word. But the government, if you did this, if you did what the government did and you tried to deceive somebody into something, they would charge you with a crime.
Yeah.
But the government, they can do it. Nobody's charging them with a crime.
No, I'm not.
Well, you should be.
No, don't do that.
I don't wanna.
Yeah.
So this included failing to implement required anti-money laundering procedures
required by the U.S. government for everyone running an exchange everywhere in the world, regardless of what plot of land.
Right, and who they're targeting and who they allow to be customers.
Insane.
The CFTC press release alleges that BitMEX's platform has received more than 11 billion Bitcoin deposits and made more than 1 billion in fees. Then
I hope they can afford some good attorneys.
That is some amazing, that profit margin is amazing considering that they're
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean 1 billion, that's like almost 10%. They're making off fees off of their customers' money.
Wow.
While conducting significant aspects of its business from the U.S. So now they're claiming significant aspects of the business are being conducted from the U.S. and accepting orders and funds from U.S. customers. But this is kind of hard to believe considering that they're blocking U.S. customers. So everything else that they're saying about operating from the U.S. is highly skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
They're literally blocking U.S. customers if you tried to visit their website. Yeah. And this was not visiting their website now after they've have been targeted. This was before they were targeted.
Yeah, so that was one of the things I was wondering about was when you go to bitmex.com, there's an error message at the top, says important notice in accordance with our terms of service. If you're in these certain jurisdictions, you're not allowed to use our website. And so I went and I looked back on archive.org, which is the internet wayback machine where you can type in any URL and you can look and see what it looked like in the past. And sure enough, the same notice was up last year. So it wasn't just that they got arrested and they put this notice up. It had been up, and the prohibited jurisdictions include the United States, Ontario in Canada, Quebec in Canada, Hong Kong, the Republic of Seychelles, Bermuda,
that's a funny one.
Cuba, Crimea, and Sevastopol, Iran, Syria, North Korea, or Sudan. And any state, country, or other jurisdiction that is embargoed by the United States of America.
All right.
Wow.
This gets better. So I'm gonna read.
So
something.
Venezuela, basically.
That just screams like what the United States is really doing here and what their motives are. For the United States to be a global leader. For the United States to be a global leader
job of the U.S. government. Where does it say in the Constitution that they're going to be a global leader?
Hold on. Let me finish the sentence because it gets even worse. For the United States to be a global leader in this space. Mm-hmm. In this space. So in other words, they're literally talking about basically giving their corporations, their company, their people an advantage.
Yeah, they're punishing the competition
over their foreign competition.
But when they say their people, they're not talking about any American.
Oh, no.
They're talking about
definitely not.
cronies.
Yes, absolutely.
They're talking
cronies.
about people who buy off
because
or are born
you have
into
to remember,
privilege.
one of these people at least was a U.S. citizen. So he wasn't living in the United States, but he was a U.S. citizen.
I bet he's really happy. He's living in Seychelles or wherever the hell he is.
I think it was Hong Kong. It is imperative.
Isn't it amazing that he would go to China for freedom?
Right? Yeah.
Hold that thought. We're going to continue here with more on the BitMEX. Well, I'm not going to call it a takedown because the site appears to still be active. And 3 out of the 4 people they're targeting have yet to be scooped up. Now, the other problem is all the other policing agencies around the world seem to hop to it whenever the federal government says to jump. So they may be snatched up soon.
They probably will be.
Up.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
Do the letters IRS give you anxiety? I'm Dan Pilla. I've defended people from the IRS for more than 40 years. My book, How to Get Tax Amnesty, created the tax resolution industry and is responsible for helping hundreds of thousands of people. It can help you too. If you're a non-filer or facing IRS enforcement right now, your case is unique. You need real help, not cookie-cutter advice. My clients get my personal attention. Buy my book at danpilla.com and get a free consultation directly with me. That's danpilla.com. Let's start solving your tax problem right now.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You can bring up what you want in these remaining moments. We've been talking about the U.S. government goon gang going out and threatening people for running a business outside of the United States. A business called BitMEX. This one is a Bitcoin exchange. That sounds like it was a relatively successful one. Lots of users, but they specifically say on their website, if you're in the United States or if you're in Cuba or one of the other tyrannical jurisdictions in the world, you're not allowed to use their website. But yet they're now being faced, or the creators of this site, the operators, the founders of the site, are being chased down by the U.S. federal government in an attempt to put them in a jail cell for this, even though it's not a U.S. site.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Now, they did allege briefly in the story from Forbes that these people were doing some sort of business in the United States, but it hasn't been clear on exactly what that was. The website itself is registered, or the business or the corporation is registered to Seychelles in East Africa.
Yeah, it's where it's incorporated. So, it's always unbelievable that, like, just because somebody travels through the United States, America can all of a sudden say, we got jurisdiction over you, even though, and then claiming that there's, even after they've gone through effort, a company is putting actual effort to prevent people from the U.S. from accessing its products, that you can say that there's somehow a connection to the United States.
And they're claiming they are somehow supposed to follow all these regulations.
Yeah. So the lawyer for one of the defendants, at least, has made a statement which is interesting and kind of might give some insight here. We are surprised and dismayed by today's action. Our client, Greg Dwyer, who complied fully with the CFTC investigation, was never so much as invited to speak with prosecutors in the United States. His attorney's office in Manhattan always worked in good faith to comply with all applicable regulations and requirements, and helped BitMEX establish an international business that operated with the highest integrity. We will strongly contest these charges.
Well, I guess that's his. He shouldn't have done anything for them then, right?
You're not under U.S. jurisdiction. You have no obligation to respond.
I'm
it can
sick
only
of this
ever
crap.
hurt you.
I feel the same way. It's so frustrating watching these crypto companies kowtow to the United States government. And another example of this is Telegram, which I'm generally a fan of the app of Telegram. I like what they do. I think it's a really useful chat app, and it was created by a Russian anarchist named Pavel Durov. But when it came to their recent issuance of a token, a cryptocurrency token called TON, T-O-N, the Telegram was targeted by the U.S. government for this. But Telegram doesn't have business in the United States. They don't even run servers in the United States. They have no presence whatsoever in the United States. But yet the United States some court said, whoa, you can't issue this thing. This is a security. We can't have you issuing this security without our permission. You've got to go through us.
Because somebody in America might somehow get a hold of it.
That's right.
Even though you don't sell it to Americans.
Correct. Because someone could buy it from Telegram and then sell it to an American. So therefore,
it reminds me very much of the logic of why they can outlaw weed at the federal level, and it has to do with the fact that because it can impact markets outside of a state if you grow in the state and only sell to people in the state. Yeah. It impacts the price,
and that goes
even though it's
back
illegal
to
because of smugglers.
Right. Filburn, which is a travesty of what the Constitution is supposed to mean. Remember, the Constitution just says that the federal government can regulate, which in those days meant regularize, interstate commerce.
Right.
But Wickard v. Filburn found that a man who is growing his own wheat on his own land to sell to to feed to his own animals is engaged in interstate commerce, even though his activity is non-commercial in nature and intrastate in scope, because it has some impact on markets. It changes prices. So what that means is effectively every single protection in the Constitution ceases to exist when you tell that lie. And the only reason it went through is because the Supreme Court struck down every single part of the New Deal until FDR threatened to pack the court with new commie justices. And it was a communist takeover.
This is a seizure. This is a seizure of power, is what they did. They seized power that was not given to them, that was not authorized by the Constitution.
Yeah, and they'll murder anybody who gets in the way. Yep. I mean, what are your choices? You either kowtow to American law, or you start killing American police and politicians, or you go set yourself on fire. Those are about your three choices.
I want to share the rest of the quote that you shared. You were reading the Forbes article. Yep. I've got the actual CFTC press release on this. So from the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. Remember, your story said, my client did everything they told him. You know, he was being very obedient with these bureaucrats. And I think that's probably part of the reason why that they got in trouble, because that's how they learned about him, right?
Otherwise, speak to cops; they're not your friend.
If this guy hadn't talked to the CFTC, who essentially is the cops in this particular case,
there's four of them, but clearly one of them talked.
Yeah, they probably all chose to do it as a board or whatever, but because they wanted to bow down and kiss the boot in this particular case, they probably opened themselves up to some level of scrutiny, or more so. Because if they had just simply said, oh, we're opening up this exchange, we're going to hide behind some fictitious names, and the CFTC sends them a fax saying, we want to talk to you. Well, they put it in the shredder.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they going to know who to charge at that point?
Well,
right?
I mean, this is assuming that this information's not on record in the Seychelles. Often the board of director people are listed, but not always, I don't believe. I think in the United Kingdom, you don't have to be.
So here's the whole quote. Quote, for the United States to be a global leader in this space, it's imperative that we root out illegal activity like that alleged in this case.
Nowhere in the Constitution, let me point out, does it say that it's the job of the United States to be a global leader in any space.
Yeah. New and innovative financial products can flourish only if there is market integrity. We can't allow bad actors that break the law to gain an advantage over exchanges that are doing the right thing by complying with our rules.
This flies into the face of 2,000 years of international law. They are being terrorists by doing this. This is terrorism.
It makes no sense. That doesn't make any sense, because they're not in the United States, and they're not doing business with U.S. customers. Yep. So there's nothing within the U.S. There's no impact on U.S. markets or they're not. Yeah, there's no impact on U.S. markets, probably is a fair way to phrase it, at least within the U.S.
Well, they believe that there is. But let's go to Gene, the Christian anarchist. He is on the line on our Matrix server. Go ahead, Gene.
Hey, I can tell you guys exactly how the U.S. government gets authority or the jurisdiction to extend their laws all over the globe.
Claim.
That is thanks to my dear friend Irwin Schiff, may he rest in peace, who wrote the book, The Federal Mafia. The fact
and they put him in prison for it, and he died in prison.
Jurisdiction.
It's worth mentioning.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the fact is that they don't need jurisdiction, and they don't need law, and they don't need anything, because what they are is the goonerment. They're a goon squad.
Oh, yeah.
And all they do is enforce whatever dictate they want to, with depending on how they feel that day. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same thing from one day to the next. They just, whatever they feel like that day, that's what they're going to do. And they don't need to have a law, and they don't need to follow any rules, because they've got the guns, and they'll blow anybody away who stands up to them. That's the bottom line. That's why Assange is currently in prison fighting an illegal extradition for doing nothing more than report news.
And it's why it's time for the militia to start shooting back. That's what they're for.
I don't think it's a militia's responsibility. I think it's
a militia's responsibility to overthrow
every
a
man,
government.
woman, and child's responsibility to stand up and say no.
That's the militia.
Okay, fair enough. I thought you meant like a certain group of people.
No, not a particular group. Even federal law defines the militia as every man from 17 to 45.
I would extend that to every single person.
Go ahead, Gene. Sorry.
I like the term our founding fathers used. We the people. I don't like to use terms like militia.
Thank you, Gene, for the call tonight. I do appreciate it here. Out of time, but there's more Nobody on the way. Stay tuned on our DLive channel and our Twitch channel. Go to dlive.lrn.fm, twitch.lrn.fm, and that'll be 10:30 Eastern Time tonight for Nobody Tells the Truth. Check out Chris on his show, Freedom Decrypted, starting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, freedomdecrypted.com. I got that right?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, cool. See you in Nobody Tells the Truth here in about a half hour. More coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had got involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream for people to use it for everyday payments, we